What's up, everybody? Andrew Mikhail here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Serpents, entitled Temet Nosce. This is self-released. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Chicago, Illinois, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very experimental, elaborate, symphonic style of blackened deathcore. Yeah. Serpents is primarily a one-person project formed by a guy by the name of Andrew Mikhail. You may probably know him best for his time as a guitarist in probably one of the most notable deathcore bands going in the country right now. Of course, that band I'm talking about is Oceano. He played on the album Depths and was a part of their early beginning stages of their existence. But ever since his departure from that band, he went on to form a passion project of his own called Serpents, where he was the primary guy behind it. He did all the music, wrote all the lyrics, did all the vocals. It was something very complex and different than your average sort of deathcore sort of release. And of course we got those glimpses and instances of what he was working with in the form of a self-titled EP in 2011 and the very first full-length release of Serpents entitled Born of Ishtar. Something very, very different. I really appreciated what he was going for with that project and that album in terms of the musicianship, in terms of the lyrics, in terms of the concepts. It was something very special. But ever since that album had come out, there has been a lot of things going on within the Serpents camp. He put out a second full-length album in 2014 called Pestilence, which I think is a much, much stronger album than the first one. And then, of course, he expanded the Serpents lineup into a more full, robust, live sort of lineup, because this band has done and played some live shows and is in the process of putting out more live content in the coming years ahead. But as far as Serpents is concerned, we have a brand new full-length entitled Temet Nosce, which, if I'm not mistaken, loosely translates to the term Know Thyself. I probably butchered that wrong, so I apologize for that, but yeah, anyway. New Serpents album, it's 8 tracks, and it clocks in at around 50 minutes in length, so this is easily the longest Serpents album to date, but you heard a lot of growth and depth on the first 2 Serpents album. We get a full circle comeuppance here with this album in terms of musicianship, in terms of concepts, and just being an overall wild and crazy sort of deathcore album. There is a lot to digest and sink in here, and this is definitely one of those albums that you really need to fully grasp in its full unedited format and not skip through anything. If you're into that sort of thing, this is definitely something very special, and I appreciate what's going on here with this new Serpents record. Musically, it's very, very top-notch. I love the riffs that are being done throughout this album. There is a lot of aggression and passion being put forward here with these guitar riffs. You hear it on the opening track, the Flaming One, and then later on throughout the album with songs like The Lust of the Lawless, The Ecstasy of Nil, and then the closing track of this record with The Sunset and The Silhouette. Easily the longest track on here at about 9.5 minutes. It's really, really elaborate and grandiose. The level of musicianship that you hear throughout this entire record. It's something very special to behold. And I love these guitar riffs. I love the aggression, the emotion, the passion. There's just a lot of it to sink in here with these riffs, and it's really, really awesome. And you get some really good audible bass tones being peppered throughout this entire release too. I definitely think this album has more of a showcase as far as the guitar riffs are concerned, but as far as the bass parts go, you do hear them sparingly, and you do get that same level of impact and aggression, and it's really, really nice. When it comes to the drums, I get the feeling that this is a bit of a programmed sort of drum style, but regardless of whether it is or whether it isn't, I definitely think it really sounds good. It does keep a good and moderate pace throughout. You get a lot of blast beats, you get a lot of fills, you get a lot of fast to mid-pace sort of parts, especially for some of these lengthier, methodical tracks that you hear throughout this album, like on tracks like The Salt and the Stone, and The Ecstasy of Nil, and once again mentioning the Sunset and the Silhouette. just some really elaborate drum parts being composed and executed here throughout this album, and I think it's really neat. And I really love the inclusions of the symphonic instrumentations, the intros, the certain lead-up points to certain parts on the album. It just makes for an overall cinematic listening experience, and that's what makes this album so interesting and so complex. And when it comes to the vocals, you're going to get your usual sort of routine. If you're familiar with the Serpents vocal style, it's very growled, very guttural, very understandable. But I love the inclusion of the spoken word elements. I love the choir singing. I believe you hear it on the track The Black Sun. Not The Black Sun, The Salt and the Stone. You hear those choir vocals sung out very, very well here, in addition to the mixture of the spoken word vocals and the guttural vocals. I think there's a really, really great inclusion of all of those elements on those songs, and especially in terms of storytelling aspects, you get some really great lyrics. That's another thing I really appreciate about Andrew, is the fact that he can pen together such really, really thought-provoking lyrics, really well done and really well executed here. He's really an awesome storyteller and a great songwriter. So overall, this is probably the most ambitious record Serpents has put out yet, but it's probably some of the best stuff that I've heard them do yet. If you are into deathcore that's a little bit different from the norm, you're probably going to really enjoy this new full length from Serpents. It's really, really entertaining, and I'm very excited to see and hear how this project continues to grow and evolve and become an even stronger entity than ever before. So if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say The Flaming One, The Lust of the Lawless, The Ecstasy of Nil. The instrumental tracks that are on here are pretty solid as well. Lengthy instrumentals, but still very solid nonetheless. And the closing track, The Sunset and the Silhouette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album. And let's listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Serpents Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it, buy it digitally, and it is available physically as a limited CD. There is also merchandise options if you buy directly from the band himself. And of course, keep your eyes and ears out for any potential live shows for this band in the future. So again, the album is Temet Nosce by Serpents. This is self-released. Definitely check this one out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a very solid 8.5 out of 10. Very, very impressive deathcore, and definitely something different from the pack. So if you've happened to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it. Or any of you guys into Serpents, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Andrew Mikhail out.